So in ships at sea, you have a few different ways to do some fishing. You can go jigging, you can do longline, and you can do net fishing. And what we're going to do in this video is go through is making money easy with longline fishing. So if we go into the shipyard, there's a few things you need to do to get this set up. The very first thing is to buy your tier 1 fishing boat, which is called Flippy, which is this boat here. And when you do have Flippy, it's going to cost you a little bit of money to get this set up. You've got to buy the boat, you've got to do some upgrades and stuff. So if we come to the upgrades, yeah, I would recommend getting like the engine, the throttle and everything like that. But the rigging, you need to rig it for longline fishing, otherwise you can't do it. These upgrades and stuff that I was talking about just make your boat faster, easier to handle and things like that. But once you've got your Flippy boat, if I can actually show you the fishing boats quickly. So you've got the fishing boat there, Flippy, which is our active one. You'll see it again there for sale if you want to buy another one, if that's even possible. I'm not entirely sure. Then at tier 2, you've got the Conquest. Then at tier 3, you have the Turbo. And you'll see a load of info here, something I nearly forgot to mention. If we go to our Flippy boat, what it's going to tell you is, like, you'll get the classification, the tier and everything like that. But what you need to pay attention to, at least for the time being, is you need to pay attention to supported rigging. It does longline and longline only. The max fishing gear is 4. The quotas, I don't think they're even in the game at the moment. It's just a part of the ship's description. So max fishing gear 4. That's probably the most important thing there. You know it does longline. And now what we're going to do is leave the shipyard at Rost. We're going to go down to the fishery. So if we come past these cranes, we're going to do a left at the back of these buildings. So coming around this corner, the fishery is over there. But before you go into the fishery and start buying stuff, what you want to do is go to your map. And you want to, if I remove this route, you want to figure out what you actually want to catch. So if you look at the fish habitats, you'll see right now, 10% cod, 13% haddock, 10% pollock, 10% catfish. Over here at this one, you've got the highest is 20% pollock. And then down here, you've got, that one's actually pretty decent, 33% for haddock. And then if we have a look, there's another one out here. That's pretty bad at the moment. I'm not sure, if I zoom all the way out, we can see them better. So up here, you've got around 20% for all the types there. You've got 33% for haddock. Then if we've got 27% for haddock there. So what you want to do is decide on the fish that you want to go for. I'm going to stick to this low area. I love this place for fishing. So here we can get cod, haddock, pollock and catfish. I'm going to target haddock. So you need to pick a fish type that you want to go for the most. It doesn't matter too much. It's just kind of what you want to go for. If we come out of here, we are going to go into the fishery. And remember, we're going for haddock. So the first thing you need to do is you need to purchase gear, long lining. On the Flippy, you can only have the 500 hooks. They're the most you can go for. You can get the 250s if money's an issue, but you can't get the 1000s or the 2500s. And you can only have max fishing gear 4, so you can get 4 of these buckets. So that's going to cost you 40 grand. After you've bought the Flippy, you've got the upgrades, you've rigged it and everything like that. Then if you want to upgrade your boys, you can. They're pretty useless. They say 2 flags and a light. You still can't see them much better than the default one. And the light doesn't really work. It doesn't really shine that well at night. But they are quite cheap. And just keep in mind with these, you need to buy 2 per bucket. So if you're dropping 4 buckets, you need 8 boys upgraded in order to have every single one of them with 2 flags and a light. And then the most important thing in here, besides obviously selling your fish, is purchasing the bait. So we are going for haddock. And all you've got to do with this is just read its description. Shrimp is good for catching cod. Krill is for redfish. Herring is for halibut. So we need to find mackerel bait blocks because they are good for catching haddock. So what I'm going to do, because on the 500 hook buckets, one of these bait blocks is 2 buckets. So in order to do all 4 of them, we only need to buy 2. So you basically just however many buckets you've got, buy half. And then obviously you can do more than one trip. So for an example, say I was going to do 2 lots of 4 bucket drops before I came back to port, I would then just buy 4. And also if you're confused about which type of fish you want to go for because you don't know like if it's available through longline fishing or anything like that, if you press tab, you go to help. If you go to fishing, fish types is going to show you all the different species in the game and whether you can get them or not. So salmon is only available through jigger and net, and then mackerel is the same. Whereas if you're going for haddock, that's available through jigger, longline and net. So longline fishing, we can target haddock. If you was to set up a longline fishing boat and go for mackerel or salmon, you're not going to catch any. You'll catch other fish, but you won't get what you're targeting. And just because you target one type of fish, you might catch loads and loads more of another type. But now we have our long lines, we've got our buoys upgraded, we've got the bait and everything like that. So what we're going to do is go and get on Flippy. And when you get on the boat, you're going to see your buckets here. So what we're going to do, I've actually got the bottom two already baited up, and I don't even know if you can take the bait off, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is just go to my inventory. We're going to grab that mackerel, equip it, and then once it's in your hands, if you just hold E on the bucket, you're going to see the bait go in there, and they are ready to go. So you can pick up your bucket, you can place it in this rig at the back, and then we are going to set sail. So you can use the sonar. Sonar's not, like, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But what we're going to do is we are going to set a little route. So if we come out of Rost, and we can actually remove that one, we're going to come down to here, and we're going to go straight through, then come around here, and when we get roughly to this lighthouse, that is when we will enter the fish habitat. So you'll see the habitat's actually down here. That's where all the fish are going to be hanging out. But it doesn't matter where you go. I don't know if there'll be updates to the game that change that or anything, but at least for the time being, I'm going to set my route a little bit past it, because the moment we enter the habitat, I'm going to start dropping those buckets. And one thing I forgot to mention, just before we head out, this is really important, do not head out without doing this. If we come up to the shop over here, what we're going to do is we're going to have to buy a couple more bits. I can't believe I forgot to mention this. So you'll see here we've got something called a hook. This is needed, otherwise you can't actually do the fishing. So you'll see here, used to hook fish during fishing. It's only going to cost you $395. You don't need any of this other stuff for longline fishing. But without that hook, you cannot fish. So make sure you grab one. And if we now go and we get on Flippy, we are going to enter the cabin. We're going to undock, put the power up, and then I'm going to press P twice to use my autopilot and get on that route. So now the boat's going to do all of the work. And as I said, the moment we enter the habitat, we start dropping buckets. So all you're doing to know when you're in the fish habitat is just looking sort of around where your boat is on the screen, just above that rudder control sort of section. I'll show you guys when we get there. It shouldn't be too much longer now. So we should be getting there anytime now. That little lighthouse sort of thing. There we go. It says entered fish habitat. So now what we're going to do is press F, and we're going to jump out of the driver's seat. Autopilot's going to do its thing. We're just going to press E and start dropping the long line. That's the upgraded buoy, the two flags and the light. And just it doesn't make that much of a difference. And what's going to happen when you drop your long line is it's just going to keep deploying until it's done. You will get a white buoy that drops when you're halfway through. So you'll see in a moment when we get to 255 meters, any second now, you'll see that a white buoy gets deployed. That just shows you this is the middle of your long line. And you've got to remember, we've only got 500 hook long lines. They go up to 2,500. So this will become, it'll take 5 times longer per long line when you're in the bigger boats. And if we can put back in, we can have a look, we can check our sonar if we want to. One important thing for the sonar is make sure you press this to show your fish markers if you want to know when you're right on the fish, even though it doesn't matter too much. And your autopilot's here. If you wanted to stop at the end of your journey, you can look at the top of the nav button. It says auto stop, and you'll also get a notification when your long line's being deployed. So what we're going to do, because that first one's done, is place the second bucket and start casting. And we're just going to make a nice little line. So we're starting there. We're just going to keep going down this autopilot route, dropping buckets until we're done with all 4 of them. So now with the second one, we are almost done, and we get the notification to say that's been deployed. So grab the third bucket, place it, and start casting. And you'll see the fish habitat markers there. We are a couple of kilometers away, but we're still in their habitat here. And that is a fish marker. Those little circles, I mean, you can't really see, like, you can see one of them properly now because it's going down. But even without the fish markers, the interference that you see on that sonar will let you know that there are fish in the area. Even though I don't think they actually have to be, it feels as though you just need to be within the fish habitat. And this could actually be a really good haul because I've never seen 4 markers on the screen at the same time. I've only ever seen a maximum of 3. And you'll see every now and then when you get close to the habitat, it doesn't always do this, but you'll see like the shoals of fish. So you'll see 10% there, you'll see 10% catfish, 10% cod, the 13% haddock. You'll see they're sort of moving, like their movement a little bit. Although, as I said, I don't think any of this really matters that much, because I've started fishing all the way up here, and I'll still catch a load of fish up there. So, I mean, at some point during early access or full release, they might be important, but right now when I'm recording this video, they're not. And we are quite close to the final long line being deployed. Any second now. Done. So what we're going to do is just stop the boat. If I press X and cut the throttle, if we press tab, we go to help and fishing again. If we go to long line, it's going to tell you down here, it needs to soak in the water for approximately 12 to 17 hours for optimal fishing results. So what we're going to do whilst we're out at sea is go into the first person mode, look at the clock, and we're going to rest. And I like to rest. You might have different results, like if you wait a little bit longer, but I like to go somewhere around 13 to 14 hours. So if we rest, and now once the resting is done, we need to go and retrieve our long lines. So if we just back up, you need to be on the right hand side. When you get close to a buoy, you'll see a red sort of semicircle, like you'll see it there. That shows up, and you need to have the buoy within that to start retrieving. However, you also need to have the hook in your hand. So make sure you pay attention to your quick slots. Mine's like, there's no numbers or anything, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth. Like if I press them on my keyboard, then my hook is on number 2. So as we approach this, I'm going to cut the throttle. I'm going to jump out. I'm going to go to this with the hook in my hand and start hauling. Sometimes it can be tricky. The choppiness of the water, like the waves and stuff, can make it a lot harder. But once you start retrieving it, you've got your line coming up. You're going to wait for a fish to come up, and you're going to just keep smacking at it, try and smack it in the head, and that's going to bring it on board. If you miss any of them, they go all the way up and you don't catch them, I think it just lowers the amount you catch on that long line. So it doesn't make, like, you'll still catch fish, I just don't think anywhere near as much. And typically you get, like, if you've waited 13 hours, because I don't think I've ever waited more than like 15, 16 hours, because you can wait longer. But typically I get 5 fish to like reel in or like hook or whatever before the long line's done. So you'll see this is an absolute beauty, the size of it. And then I think we're either done or we've got one more to bring in. So we've got an empty hook, which is not really, it's not too much of a bad sign. But obviously if we had a fish on that hook, it would have been a little bit better. And the line's going to automatically fully retract. You get to keep your buckets, which is very nice. However, the bait will go, so you'll need to rebait them. And every bait you've got, so I've got herring, mackerel, and shrimp. One of these 20 kilo bags does 2 buckets. But now, if we go to the boat, so press I, we go to the boat inventory, you're going to see the fish we caught. So there were 60 pollock, 246 haddock, 25 catfish, 218 pollock there. So we got nearly 2 tons of pollock. The reason they're in 2 separate bits is because they are different sizes. One will be medium, one will be small, or one will be large, one will be small, one will be large, one will be medium. That's the only reason the fish get split up. Otherwise, they do get tallied together. You can carry tons and tons of the fish. And now what we're going to do is just go and retrieve the other 3 long lines, and I'll come back. I'll show you how many fish we've caught. Something I like doing is I always just set a marker to my next buoy so that I can use my mini-map and just figure out where it is. So I don't need to go and do loads of hunting or anything like that. And what we'll do actually is we'll keep this trip on the screen. You can kind of see the buoy from here, But that flag, well, the double flag and the light, even though it's daytime, the light doesn't really play, like, it doesn't have any effect anyway, really. But you'll see the biggest thing there, the most standout thing, is the buoy. When you get closer, the flag starts becoming a bit more visible. But yeah, the upgrades, they're just visual. They don't really help with anything. They're just there to look nicer. Or that's how I see it anyway. But let's carry on. Let's retrieve these other 3 long lines. Ooh, that one wasn't too good. That's hook number 2. And out of the 4 buckets or the 4 long lines we've done, 5 hooks on it each, we've had 3 empty hooks, which I'm going to say is a little bit above average. I'd say you're normally going to average 2 empty hooks on 4 buckets. Sometimes you might get none, sometimes you might get more. But if we catch this, I want to show you guys the total amount of fish that we've brought in. So I think we've got, what, 1 more? And it's a biggie, which we like to see. So if we smack that guy on the head, bring him in, wait until the line comes all the way in. That's going to replace our bucket. We can put that away. We've now got 4 unbaited buckets. And if we go to our inventory, to the boat, you are going to see all the fish. We have up here 218 pollock, totaling just under a ton. Then you'll see here 2 tons of haddock. We've got 4 tons of pollock there. We've also got 1.11 tons of it there. We've got, what, in 16 catfish there, 320 kilos. And you'll see, because we've got like 3 different types of haddock, 3 different types of pollock, that's small, medium, and large. And also the same with the catfish. So if you have, like, let's just say I've got more bait on me, say I wanted to stay out in the water and catch more, you can just bait up your buckets and go again. And like, I'm already in the fish habitat, so it'd be like, it would make a lot more money faster instead of doing trips with 1 lot of fish. But you can just keep building up and up and up and up and up in your inventory for the boat. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to do the 1 lot of 4 buckets, 4 long lines. We're going to head back to Rost now. And if I don't press the wrong button, when we get there, I will show you exactly how much these fish are worth. So we are now approaching Rost, and I just want to say quickly, when you're docking and you've just been like longline fishing, don't go all the way to the jetty or even anywhere close. I like taking this diagonal one right in front of us now because it's so close to the fishery. We can just sell very, very quickly. And not only that, when you wash your boat and everything, it will return to the jetty, or if you change your active boat. So what we're going to do, now that we've parked up, is come out and we saw all of the fish numbers. So after that little session, which doesn't take too long, we come over here, we go to the fishery, and that little lot was worth 176,000. And that's not a bad time. You saw the numbers on that fish habitat. They're around 10 to 13%. I've done the exact same haul, so 4 buckets or 4 long lines. And I pulled in a little, I think it was like 98,000 more than that. So it all depends on the fish you're catching, the bait you're using, the habitat you're going to, the time of year. Like, there's so many different factors. But 176 grand, and it doesn't take too long either. So we're going to sell all of those fish because we don't need them for anything else. And then, as I said, you keep all of your buckets, you keep the rig on the back. The only thing you need to do is buy new bait, make sure your boat's got fuel, maybe wash it, repair it if you need to, and just head back out to the fish habitats and do it all over again. It's nice and easy, and to answer the question, is making money easy with longline fishing? Yes, it is very easy. You just need to have the initial costs, which they're not too much. I think the rig's very cheap. If anything, I'm going to say the most expensive thing is getting the upgrades for Flippy, which you don't need to. They just make it a little bit faster and a tiny bit easier to handle. And it's not that good for XP. I can't remember if it's 50 XP for like setting a long line and then bringing one in, or if it's just for one or the other. But you're going to get, it works out roughly 50 XP per long line. So it's not the best XP, but it's not the worst. But in terms of money, that lot we just got took around half an hour or so. That was 176 grand. You're going to average around 200 grand each time. So So the money is decent. There are ways to get money faster, like fish farms and stuff in the game. So it's not necessarily the quickest way to get money, but it is very easy. It's chill. And as I said, you don't need to do just one lot of 4 long lines. You can just bait them up like in the same fishing session, if you want to call it that. You can just bait them up over and over again and stay out at sea until, I don't know if there is a cap on how much the boat can carry. But I've done one session where I dropped the 4 long lines 3 or 4 times. I can't remember exactly. I think it was 3 times. I came back like nearly 800 grand or something, or nearly 700,000. And it was a nice little session. So yes, it is easy to make money with longline fishing in ships at sea. And on that note, we're going to leave the video there. I will see you guys in the next one.